Hey, welcome to Life in the Leadership Lane. I'm your host, Bruce Waller, where I get to talk to leaders that are making a difference in the workplace and in our community. What did they do to get started, and what are they doing to stay there? Oh my goodness, here we are. We're already in the month of March, season 4, and we have another special guest. Today, I'm getting to talk to Ariel Leonard. Ariel is the Vice President of Human Resources at Rent-A-Center. She's certified with her HR certification with their SHRM-SCP. And Ariel, I'm so excited to have you on the show. How you doing?
Great. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here as well.
Okay, so I always like to start off the show by the first time I met my guest or they just came into my path. And for you, I remember this specific moment. It was around 2020. It might have been in the fall. Everybody's trying to figure out how do we get our employees back to work. And I went to a Dallas HR meeting. And you were on a panel, I believe you were with Wendy Hatchell, with McCarthy, who I've had on the show, and also Sid Restrava with Cinemark. Do you remember that?
I do. I do remember that. It was a wild time.
Wasn't that energizing? You had a full room. Everybody's trying to figure out, okay, you're here, tell us how to do it, and you're just like, we're all trying to figure this out, right?
Definitely. It was a real communal spirit in that room.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So I met you, and I've been wanting to get you on the show since you had a lot of energy. You're a very genuine person, and I'm so excited. Hey, let's kick this off. For those who don't know, share a little bit about Rent-A-Center and how you serve your customers.
I would love to, actually. Rent-A-Center is a very special company. We consider ourselves to be the only company that serves the unserved. And those are really people who aren't able to afford full retail prices up front, or really rely on traditional credit. We're actually celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. So we're 50 years strong in the rent-to-own industry, our little niche industry, as we like to think of it. And we fully intend to remain the largest and most profitable rent-to-own organization that's out there today.
That's fantastic. Happy birthday, Rent-A-Center. 50 years old. Are you kidding me? That
That's
is
right.
fantastic. It feels good to work for an organization that has a lot of history. Of course, Armstrong Relocation, who I work for, just recently rebranded to the Armstrong Company, and we just celebrated 65 years. And so I know how you
Oh,
feel. That's awesome. And I love this, though. You said serves the unserved. I mean, that just feels like it feels mission driven.
we are very much so. It's a huge population out there that has a lot of money, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
not in the traditional form of credit or, being able to walk into regular retail stores and really afford the product. So we focus on being able to provide those products to those customers and figure out affordable ways for them to be able to enjoy those products right now versus later.
I love it. I love it. Hey, I would love to hear so I met you. I've done some research on you, but I know there's something I'm going to learn here. Tell us the Ariel Leonard story. Like, where did you grow up, and how in the world did you get into HR and leadership?
Definitely not a straight line between the two. I was actually born in Hawaii,
Mm.
and then my parents moved us stateside when I was younger, and I grew up outside of Houston in Sugar Land. And then I ended up going to Baylor University, Sick and Bears, and majored in psychology. And out of school, I started working. I first started at Zelle Corporation, back before Signet bought Zales. And then I moved it over to J.C. Penney, and then spent a significant part of my time at J.C. Penney on the Sephora inside J.C. Penney team. And then I actually found out about RAC, just down the street, Rent-A-Center. And I was at Rent-A-Center for about 5 years before I got an amazing opportunity to be the crow for Rug Doctor, in 2020, which was an amazing experience in and all of itself. And then I got the opportunity to come back to RAC, actually. So I'm a boomerang for the first time, and I am back to a company that I was previously at before, and this time leading HR for the company. So it's been an honor to be able to come back at this position and be able to do the things we've been able to do over the past 18 months or so.
I love that. There's so much here to unpack. First of all, Hawaii. Do you still get to get back? So I have a bucket list of visiting all 50 states. I'm going to Alaska this year.
Oh,
And
awesome.
I've got about 35 states. I still got Hawaii still on that list. Tell me about Hawaii. Do you get back?
I actually have not been back since
Okay.
we left. My parents have been back a few times,
Okay.
but it's on my bucket list as well to
Mm.
go back. I'd like to go back and try to see if I can trigger any memories from back then.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that. And I heard the Sikkim. You threw out the Sikkim there. I
Right.
have had some Baylor grads on the show, so that's fantastic. I love that. Hey, I do want to just touch on real quick. You may be the first guest. There may be some others that I don't remember, but that is a boomerang. A
Yes.
boomerang. So you were with an organization, Rena Center, for 5
Mhm.
years. You left, and then you came back. Like, what's that been like?
It's been awesome, actually. My first 5 years at Rena Center were great, a great experience, learned a ton about being a business partner and really about the business itself and how best to support the business. And then I got the opportunity to move to a higher level position, be the
Mm.
pro over at a different company, a smaller company, privately owned. Was the first time I'd ever gone into smaller privately owned company, but that was pretty much like what I needed, I think, to be able to take the call from my former head operator here at Rena Center, who called me about 18 months later, after I had left the first time, and asked if I would be willing to come back and help him post pandemic to really support his vision for where he wants the business to go. So from a timing perspective, I was really loving what I was doing at Rug Doctor. It's a fantastic company with great people. But when this opportunity came along to go back to a publicly held company and with lots of people, lots and lots of people, in my organization, there's anywhere from 13,000 to 15,000 people at any given time. So it was just a great opportunity to come back and lead the HR organization this time.
I love that. I'm a big John Maxwell fan. And
Me too.
it reminds me of in the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, it's the law of sacrifice. And the law of sacrifice basically says sometimes you have to give up to go up. And so
Mhm.
you basically said, you know what? I'm willing to okay, I'm not moving up here. I'm going to go over here and then I'm going to come back over here. And I tell people a lot of times, just because you're moving laterally or you need to go take a pay cut or whatever you need to do, sometimes that's what it takes to get to where you want to go.
It is so true. You have to be willing to do that and really, subject yourself and be vulnerable to all those
Mm.
learnings that you can get, in that situation. And if you do, it's worth it.
Hey, let me ask you something. I mean, you didn't start out as the VP of HR. I mean, you're just like, going through your career and I always like to ask this question around, I talk about finding your lane, right? And it's really about your purpose, your calling. And here you are serving in this head of HR role. Talk a little bit about, was there a moment or were there moments when you said, you know what, I'm in my lane. I love HR. I love leadership. This is what I want to do.
Yes, definitely. I think some of those there were definitely more moments, not just one moment. And most of those moments were, under a lot of pressure, or the situation, was like COVID, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I kind of leaned into those experiences, and then those ended up being the moments that helped me understand, okay, I'm doing what I should be doing. I'm doing what I love to do. I'm doing what I'm good at, and I'm able to impact change and see results from what I'm doing. So there were definitely several different moments. I mean, I think, once I realized that my operational partner here at Rena Center was going to move into the role that he has today, which is leading the entire company. Once I realized that was going to happen for him, I felt like, I think it's time for me to figure out if I can take that next step as well. It wasn't necessarily going to be at Rena Center. It ended up being at a different company, but that in and of itself was, kind of one of those moments. And I think probably the biggest moment that really resonated for me was going through COVID as the new crow for a company. I started as the crow at Rug Doctor about 2 weeks before COVID hit. and really spent the next 6 to 8 months, just dealing with that and furloughing coworkers and bringing people back and really going through that whole talent life cycle in a whirlwind. So I learned pretty quickly that HR is so important to the business, and the business will only succeed if HR is really in tune in how to support that business. So that was really a cementing moment for me to help me understand I'm doing what I should be doing. I'm doing what I'm good at, and I'm doing what I love most of all.
But going through that moment, I'm sitting here, I'm going back to that 2 weeks before COVID, then COVID. And I'm sitting there going, oh my goodness, just took this new role. We've got these big plans, right? We got goals. We're going to really just have this great year. And, you probably have this 100-day plan. And then all of a sudden COVID hit and you're like, what is happening? But I love what you said, though. You said you just lean into the moments, right? And I'm sure that what you're talking about, a lot of it is because you leaned in, you probably developed some really deep relationships and built some incredible trust. But I'm for those listening. And by the way, listening right now, you need to get out your pen, your journal. Man, there's going to be a lot here. Talk a little bit about leaning in. Like, where did that come from?
Well, it actually came from a few places. I've read the book Lean In a long time ago.
Oh,
I've
yeah,
gone
Sheryl
through
Sandberg, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I've gone through different sessions that really help you figure out how to lean in and lean in effectively. And every time, I've walked away with just kind of another skill in the tool belt, right? To be able to look at these moments and understand that, okay, here you are in front of a moment where it's 90%, how you respond, right? Like it's only 10% really what's happening to you. And so it's important to just figure out, well, how are you going to respond? And for me, the best way to respond or to know how to respond is to lean into that and fully embrace the situation and fully think through lots of different possibilities. And most importantly, as you said, really build relationships along the way, find out from other people, what they think should happen in the same situation, which can also be very calibrating and can help everybody, be on the same page around one solution ultimately, which is what you're really targeting, to do. So for everyone. So it's really important to lean in, especially as an HR business partner.
I mean, talk about purpose. I mean, finding, I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, you wonder sometimes why you move to different jobs or or move companies or whatever that is. And then all of a sudden there's real purpose in that in this particular case, because of COVID. And so I appreciate you sharing that, because I know there's some people out there listening. They're like, you know what, that resonates with me. That, yes. Okay. I need to lean in more, or I'm leaning in, I'm doing the right thing. That's fantastic. Hey, I would like to ask you, cause I'll ask my guests about the importance of mentorship. Because it seems to me there's a common thread, and the common thread is those who have success have had people help them get to where they want to go. And I always like to just highlight, hey, were there any mentors that helped you along the way? And if there were, what was it about them that maybe helped you?
Yeah, I definitely have had the fortunate opportunity to have several mentors. I mean, presently right now, my current boss, Tran Taylor, who is the crow for our parent company, Upbound, he is probably the best HR leader I've ever worked for. I absolutely love his style of leadership, and I love the way that he raises the bar, for excellence. He just continues to raise it, but he also is so supportive in helping you get there and helping you achieve it and learn a lot along the way. I would say that the leader of the rack business, his name is Anthony Blasquez, and he has taught me just how important HR is, especially to his business, because he truly puts people first. And it's really important for HR in his world to understand the business and how we make money. But he also helps us understand how HR can contribute to the operator's success and really be business partners to them at the same time. And I think lastly, most notably, my husband, Jason, he's he's the head of HR for his company as well. And he really inspires me to aspire toward any goal I set for myself. We have 4 kids together. And he doesn't force me to stay home with them. So
That is fantastic. You know what? I love it when people recognize their spouse. And I talk about my wife a lot, you know, how it's so important to have that support, right? That's what like, it's almost like it gives you permission to go do your thing, you know, and I love that. And I love what you said about Tran. You, when someone uses best leader, like, I'm like, okay, what is it? I want to know. And you said raises the bar, but yet he will support you and help you get there. But he's going to challenge you to be better. And I think, you know, sometimes I've looked back on some people that have challenged me, and I remember in the moment, I'm like, what are you kidding me? And then I look back and I'm like, that was the greatest thing that ever happened to me, you know? And then Anthony, people first, that's fantastic. You've been surrounded by some great leaders. And so now I can see why you are a great leader. And so I appreciate that. Hey, well, let's talk leadership here. I always like to ask my guests the question around leadership because people define it in so many different ways. And so I would love to ask you, if someone said, Ariel, hey, what's leadership to you? How would you respond to that?
I think that leadership to me, if I had to drill it down to just one concept, to me, it's really about action. I think leadership is about action. I think real leaders know how to clarify their vision and their objectives and what they want to achieve. And they're able to unify groups of people through a common set of shared values. And more importantly, the behaviors that go along with truly living and seeing those values in action. And I think that to me is really leadership, being able to act and spur action and make things happen.
I love that. Action. I mean, just the word action. I remember seeing the word act and it said, action changes things. And it seems like the people that have, that really have movement are able to do that. And I love how you talked about vision. That's fantastic and unifying everyone. I did see an article, and one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on the show during this time too, is I saw an article and it was posted by, I think it was called Eddie. It was an article where you talked about the employee life cycle and how your HR department demonstrates an ROI. And I think I hear this often about different things. Everybody's trying to kind of figure out this ROI. Talk a little bit about, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about how you do that. How do you demonstrate an ROI for human resources?
Well, I really appreciate the question. I am most passionate about this. I see dollar signs just as much as our operators do when I look at our people and I look at our business. And I know how to put the financial value to the talent lifecycle itself to really help the business leaders see that ROI in the form of productivity and profits and retention and engagement of their people. And it's also really important to help them understand and point out the financial risks around not identifying and fixing those gaps that might be there in your current talent lifecycle as it stands today. So really being able to help them understand there's a value to supporting the talent lifecycle for your company, for your people. And at the same time, there could be huge costs and definitely lost revenue, lost top line revenue if you're not identifying where the talent lifecycle isn't supporting our people and helping our people do their jobs most effectively, most efficiently, so that they can be, profitable. We're all working towards profitability. So we really help all of our business leaders understand that value to the talent lifecycle, and we put it in the form of dollars, whether it's helping them understand the cost of turnover versus, savings, or future. You have to be ready to do a cost benefit analysis when you work in HR all the time. You need to be able to show your operational leaders who make the money, who bring in that revenue. You've got to show them that you know how to support them to be able to do that even better.
I love this because you're basically saying, hey, listen, you don't need to just know the business when you come in the organization, but you need to really like almost frame things up in that perspective. I was doing I wrote, when I wrote the book, Life in the Leadership Lane, I talked about developing influence in the workplace. And one of the things I basically mentioned in there was, you know, a lot of times you got to put on your sales hat, right? And there's these 5 things you need to do. Number 1 is build trust. Number 2 is define a problem. Number 3 was build a business case. And that's the part where I think a lot of people get stuck. They're like, hey, I know this person. I see some problems here. But now it's like, okay, you want to influence, you gotta show data. And building that business case is I think Suzanne Myers was on the show when I say this all the time because she always talks about it's the easy, hard stuff, isn't it? It's like, it's easy to do, but yet it's so hard because it takes time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. Like it's important to do. How do you do that? I mean, I guess you get with your team and you collaborate. What's your thoughts around that?
We ensure that our operators know that we only exist because of them.
Okay.
So we ensure that they know everything that we're working on is only for the benefit of them, for their day-to-day lives, for their ability to either lead our people or be one of our frontline coworkers. And so I think it starts there by making sure that everybody understands what an HR business partner is really going to do for the business. And that is where we build that relationship with the operators to help them, understand that we're not typical HR, we're not administrative HR in any way, shape, or form. We're all business partners, and we're here to help you and support your business and support your coworkers' ability to really get that business. So I think it starts there. And I think, for most businesses, the greatest challenge these days is definitely talent. And you have to be a pretty compelling employer to attract and retain that talent. So it's important to help the business leaders understand that thousands of dollars get wasted because of unnecessary burn and churn through people. And that also has a very negative impact to your employer brand, because your employer brand is really only as good as your HR team at the end of the day.
Oh, I like that, because I've had a lot of HR leaders. They talk about that importance of that employer brand. It's so important. Hey, speaking of talent, I want to ask you. You also posted something around investing internally to build even stronger frontline leaders and leverage their expertise and skills in developing talent and driving results. Talk a little bit about that. How important is that?
That is super important to us. We have an incredible advantage at RAC. We have almost 3,000 store managers out there who are leading our frontline coworkers every day.
Okay.
So we focus all of our efforts on empowering them because they have the most important role in our company, and we count on them to be able to easily and readily engage and retain as many coworkers as possible. So we know the more coworkers we have, the more customers we gain, and the happier our coworkers are, the happier our customers are as well. And we can see that through the data and through our metrics and all the different ways that we listen to both our coworkers and our customers. And part of our mission is being fanatical about our customers' experience. So we know internally for HR, it starts by supporting our internal customer, the coworker. And especially our store managers. We really have to make sure that their runway in front of them is completely clear of any obstacles that will get in their way of managing their people and their business.
I love that. The internal employee experience is going to drive the external employee experience, isn't it? I love that. Oh my gosh, this is so good. But I'll tell you, a lot of companies that I've talked to, different people struggle a little bit in this area, and that is they want to empower, but yet you need to do it this way, right? It's like, how do you, like, I don't know, do you typically, how do you really get that across? Like, hey, listen, we are really doing this. We are really empowering you. Do you like go in and do you have meetings with them? Do you kind of show them, hey, here's setting the expectations. Here's what we expect. Now you go do what you do. How do you empower them?
I love that our team has really taken a very different approach to this.
Okay.
And we decided to focus on truly empowering our store managers. And we're doing that through what we call RAC University.
Okay.
So RAC University is essentially our foundational structure for continuous learning. RAC University is made up of different colleges. So there is an onboarding college, a new hire college, a new to position college, an in position college, a next position college, and then a leadership development college. And it's built on top of a very, very strong leadership foundation that covers and very important topics like unconscious bias, making sure that all of our leaders understand that they have unconscious bias and that they're going to be the ones that have to push through it. To feedback and coaching, the right ways to give feedback and coaching and to help a coworker actually change behaviors, performance management, speed of trust, all of that is wrapped in so that the concept around RAC University is that there's a college for every coworker, and every coworker is in a college, no matter what position they're in, because of those colleges and the way that they help you focus on this is everything you need to know about onboarding versus this is everything you need to know about being new to a role. So that's what we've decided to do to ensure that, one, we can turn this over to our store managers, and our store managers should be the ones that decide whether or not a coworker graduates from a college and moves on to the next college. So we're able to empower them to make those decisions around talent, as well as continuously develop our talent and put them in a continuous learning environment.
This is fantastic. I got chills you just talking about there's a college for every coworker. I love that. Hey, now on this university or this college continuous learning, is that a virtual setting? Is that typically, hey, they'll go online and they need to complete so many modules, and then if you pass, you move on to the next? Is that how that works?
It's a combination of both online learning as well as virtual mentorship sometimes, and then definitely application of the learnings in real life. So that assessing whether or not someone is able to take what they've learned from the screen and really apply it to our everyday situations.
I can tell you're very passionate about this, Ariel. This is fantastic. I love that. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's all about your people, right? And the more you develop your people, the better you're going to be. You're just going to attract great people. Hey, as I think about this and have this interview, I'm just sitting here going, man, Ariel is driven. What drives you?
Oh, I think what drives me the most are those 4 kids that I mentioned, for sure. Their mental health and their physical health and everything about them is so important to me. And I feel such a heavy responsibility to really ensure that their future world is just as diverse and inclusive as they are with each other. So, and I know my husband's really passionate about the same. So I think that really drives both of us, to be honest.
That's fantastic. I love that. Hey, well, you just now mentioned, mental health. I do have one question I want to kind of end this part on around that. You talk about mental health and the importance of being mentally tough. 6 things mentally tough people do. And I would love to just have a conversation around this. I'm just going to, I saw this. I think you might have posted this. It says they move on, they embrace change, they stay happy, they are kind, fair, and or they're not afraid to speak up or unafraid to speak up. They take calculated risk, and then they celebrate others' success. I think I got that fairly close. Talk a little bit about that. How important is that? And share how our listeners, something our listeners might be able to take away.
Yeah, I think if you are in the HR world, you're in that space, you have to spend some time really thinking through how do you contribute to positive mental health for your employees. We have to be really realistic that our people are working, they spend more time at work than they do anywhere else. And the people that they work with are like family to them in the end. And so it's important to really ensure that we are doing everything we can to listen to our coworkers and listen to what they have to say, listen to what their ideas are and things like that, and look for those things that we can help solve or resolve with every single coworker that might call in, to HR for whatever reason that might be. And that post really stood out to me as well, as far as those 6 behaviors, because I feel like it was a great way to put action to those behaviors and help someone understand that maybe you're not in the best place that you want to be in right now, but let's kind of just focus on one of these 6. and help you feel that win, right, in that area. And then let's just build on from there. And that really spoke to me. I think it's a great way to interact with other people. And I think as a leader, you really have to be in tune to those behaviors. And especially if those behaviors don't exist, what is that saying about, your coworkers' mental health or where they're at right now? And it's important to find that out.
I love that. What I love about that is how you said, "Hey, maybe we can just focus on one thing, right? One at a time." It's that saying, "Little things lead to big things." Maybe we just start with this small thing. I just want to. I would love to ask you this quick question, just to kind of piggyback off that, and that is, how do this is a big HR community that listen to the show and mobility community. How do you create that environment to where people want to come and speak up? Do you, like, I've heard John Maxwell talk about walking slowly through the crowd, getting to know people, but how have you been able to create an environment for people to come and say, "Hey, you know what? I want to talk"?
We have a program here at Rent-A-Center where we listen to our customers, and we call it the voice of the customer. And when I agreed to come back to RAC and lead HR for the RAC business, I wanted to implement something that allowed us to do the same for our coworkers. And so we essentially put together a survey that we call Voice of the Coworker instead of Voice of the Customer. And we implemented this very quick survey that really helps our coworkers and focuses our coworkers' feedback on their leader. And what is it about their leader that their leader can work on, or should continue to do because they do it well, or maybe it's an opportunity that they need to address. And as well as finding out from our coworker directly, if they are flight risks, do they have an intent to stay or not? And how do they feel about their jobs in general? How satisfied are they? So it's a multidimensional, very quick survey that really, again, just focuses in on some of those key things about their environment that we know as HR business partners, we can get in there and affect change immediately if needed. But the most important thing to do is establish a listening mechanism first. So that's what we did first. And now we've got several quarters of data and information, and it's one of the best things that we could have done for our coworkers.
That's fantastic. The voice of the coworker. I love that. The voice of the customer, and how you've kind of been able to align that together. And, we always talk about people want to feel valued, they want to be cared for, and they want to be heard. And you've been able to accomplish that by saying, "Hey, look, we're going to create this. We want to hear you, and we're listening along." This is so good. Oh, Ariel, I knew this was going to be good. I just realized how good it was going to be. Hey, I want to shift to the last part of the show here. I always like to ask a question around advice, and you've given some good advice today, but I would love to hear, have you ever been given any advice that was just so good that you just find yourself sharing with others?
Yes. The best advice that I ever got has been from one of my current mentors today that I mentioned, the lead operator of this business. And that is seek first to understand, no matter what. Seek first to understand. Ask for feedback and don't take anything personally at all, especially if you're seeking to understand, right? No matter how that feedback is given, don't internalize it, but instead really genuinely listen and thoughtfully consider whatever it is that you're hearing. And just try to push past that unconscious bias. Remember that you have that. Everybody has that. So push past that so that you can really, truly get to comprehension and understanding. More importantly, especially if it's another person, because it's just really important for leaders to meet people where they are. They can't expect for people to always meet them where they are, right? So it's that platinum rule, I think, that is important. Seek first to understand someone else before you decide to do anything.
That's fantastic. I love that. That's basically saying, "Hey, I'm just going to listen. I'm going to be present. I'm going to understand this, and then we'll work through the process." And so that is great advice. I know there's people writing that down right now saying, "You know what? I need to just start here. I need to seek first to understand. And this has been so good. I told you the time was going to fly, and it has absolutely flown. Hey, I want to ask you, I want to shift over to It's Time to Accelerate. Just have some fun questions I do want to ask you. Sure. Would you rather read a book or listen to a podcast or even an Audible?
I would rather read a book.
Oh.
But okay. I do love certain true crime podcasts.
That is the number one response, true crime. I love that.
I don't know what it is.
Nothing like a true crime. I love that. That's fantastic. Hey, well, let me ask you. You seem like I always talk about great leaders or grateful leaders. You seem to be a very grateful person. What are you grateful for?
I think I'm most grateful for my husband, to be honest. I'm most grateful for his support, and it's kind of funny. We do the same thing, kind of, pretty much. But it's amazing to just have a partner that, that really we can talk about anything and everything, and really nothing's off the table. And his support for what I'm able to do and still, be a mom to our 4 kids and things like that is really important. So I'm most grateful for that.
I love how you said we can talk about anything, because you're probably like, okay, you know what? I'm in HR. We can talk about anything here. Or he's like, hey, we can talk. That has got to be a great conversation. No, that's fantastic. You know what? That's pretty special though, as you share that, for both of you to be in the same type of role, to where you can it's almost like you can validate things. You can just bounce things off, say, hey, you ever come up? It's like you have this incredible mentor, and he also has this incredible mentor right there 24/7. So that's really special. I love that. Hey, let me ask you this. Outside of work, because I know you work a lot, you high performers, they just work a lot. Outside of work, what energizes you?
Well, I think outside of work, it's the kids. They kind of suck energy from me.
Yeah, they're pulling energy.
I will say though, I know it's work related, but my team here at RAG, they're the ones that energize me the most. They have the most incredible ideas. They work super hard, and they really put our frontline coworkers first all the time. They each genuinely have a servant's heart, and it's absolutely inspirational to work with my team. I call them my dream team, because they really are.
Wow, that is fantastic. I love that. It's special. I mean, I have a great team as well. And it's like when you're around them, they're doing some of the things you talked about. They're seeking first to understand. They're building relationships. They're doing all these things that it's like your second family, isn't it?
It is. It really is. They're an incredible group to be around and really help keep everything in focus.
I love that. The dream team. Shout out to the dream team. I love that. Okay, so this is my final question I have. And Ariel, 10 years older, is around the corner knocking at your door, and you're going to go answer that door. What's she going to tell you?
Let's see. 10 years from now, probably she's saying to me, you will survive your children, so don't run away. If she's really trying to help me.
You're going to survive. I will survive. I love that. Oh my gosh. That's a wise 10 years older Ariel. This has been so much fun. I appreciate you sharing. I know there's a lot of things that you shared today that people are going to resonate with. They're going to be like, you know what? That, like I said, that I need to like change lanes and look at things from a different perspective, or, hey, that validates what I'm doing. I'm just going to keep moving forward. And that's been so good. If for somebody that heard something, they're like, you know what, I want to learn more. I want to follow Ariel or just be connected to her. Is there a way someone could connect?
Yes, definitely through LinkedIn.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
I actually don't have any other social media, so it's just LinkedIn, but I'm happy to connect with anybody and would love to message with anybody and love to have conversations about, what other people are doing too.
Yeah. I mean, we can learn from each other. I love that. I'll put your link in the show notes so someone can connect with you. And I always like to say, hey, if you're going to connect with any of the guests, on Life and Leadership Lane, be sure and put, hey, I heard you on the podcast. Hey, I heard you say this. I'd like to learn more. It just drives that connection, doesn't it? Versus just someone saying, hey, I just want to connect, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Man, this has been so much fun. I appreciate you coming onto the show, sharing your wisdom, your perspective. You got great energy, and I can't wait to share the information you shared today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the invitation, and it's been super fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'll talk to you later.
Okay.